Our next speaker is Nicholas Kontopoulos. Hopefully I spell your name right, Nicholas, the last name.
Yeah, got
Uh,
it.
yeah, I always love your, presentation. I've been following you in Singapore, Meet Magento, and I think the one you did on Meet Magento Asia, I think, or Singapore twice, I forget. But yeah, I always love that topic of customer experience. It's just it's such great, very insightful, and I'm looking forward to hear from you. So I'm just gonna give the stage to you, Nicholas.
Oh, excellent. No problem. And thank you for that introduction. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to sharing my content today. So let me just share my screen and you let me know once you can see everything.
Yep, I can see your slide. Yep, now on the presentation. Perfect.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for that introduction. And yeah, absolute pleasure to be here. And I'm looking forward to presenting on a topic that I'm deeply passionate about. Just as a quick introduction in terms of who I am, I'm Nicholas Kontopoulos, as mentioned, but I've got the great privilege of leading Adobe commercial DX marketing efforts in Asia Pacific and Japan. Really excited, like I said, to talk about this particular topic that I'm oh, hang on, sorry, just bear with me here for 1 second. I've got a slight issue. Actually, just give me 1 second. I've just realized I've got the wrong PowerPoint deck opened up.
Hey, no problem.
That was good that I've spotted that. Let me get this opened. Here we go. Sorry about that. So just let me know once you can see everything again. Is that?
Yep, I can see it. I can see the start again.
Yeah, slightly panicked then. I was like, that doesn't look right. So yeah, here we go. So yeah, so I'm very passionate about a lot of things, and I thought I'd just share some of those passions with you. I'm very passionate about my family. These are my two sons, Ilan and Sasha. I've also got a wonderful wife. So I'm very, very passionate about them. As an Aussie, Australian, I'm also passionate about our sporting teams. Although when we're losing, I do revert to my Greek heritage. You know, Kontopoulos is a good signal there that I'm originally of Greek descent, but I am very passionate about sports. I'm also very passionate about people. I'm fascinated by people and about what makes us tick and what makes us think. And I'm also very, very lucky to have traveled to 65 countries now I've actually been to. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I've lived in London and Shanghai and now Singapore, where I call home for now. I've been in Singapore 9 years. And in that journey, I've had the great privilege of leading and working with some really great teams and working with some really great brands, both having them as customers or as partners, also working for some great brands. And my goal today is to share some of my own experiences on that journey with you all today. I'm deeply passionate about customer experience. This is a topic I've been focused on for about a good 15 years now. So my intention is to bring my collective sort of learnings that I've gathered up over the years and share that with you today over the next 30 minutes. But most importantly, I'm passionate about also my customers. You know, my goal is here today to share some insights with you and hopefully give you some ideas that you can actually go back into your businesses with and hopefully start discussing them with your colleagues and getting a conversation going on how you can drive a business transformation in your organization. Another thing I'm also passionate about is history. I always believe we need to look back before we start looking forward to see what lessons we can learn and to anticipate, you know, what mistakes we can avoid based on other people that have gone before us. If we think about, you know, this idea of omni-channel, multi-channel sort of engagement, it's evolved over a long period of time. And if we think about businesses back in the early industrial age, it was a lot simpler. Businesses would deal through single channels, but then we moved into the digital revolution and information ages. What we saw is a lot more channels coming online that enabled brands to start interacting with their customers in different ways. And more importantly, also for the customers to deal and engage with their brands. in the last 5 to 8 years, we've had a lot of conversation around this notion of omni-channel. And I'm going to challenge you today to think about the next step forward in terms of moving beyond an omni-channel strategy. I don't want to forget what an omni-channel strategy is. It's still a very important part of the overall transformation you want to drive. But I'm going to challenge you to think about your customers through a channelless lens. Think about them in terms of how they engage in this channelless engagement model, which I'm going to explain what that is as we move forward. And really what we're looking to do here is, we've seen the power go from, from companies controlling everything to ultimately now customers having a lot more control over the relationship. And although I'm not, what I'm going to suggest here is that we need to think about leveling the playing field. It shouldn't be one or the other controlling. It's about there being equal benefits in a relationship that both benefit the customer and the brand is being important. And the reality is we all know that customer experience is now very important. It's a number one priority for a lot of executives globally. We need to think and understand what that means for our businesses. We need to think and also appreciate that customer experience is a very emotional topic. In actual fact, most decisions we make, whether they're business or in a consumer context, 95% of those decisions are made emotionally, believe it or not. The research shows this. It's quite extensive research that we like to think we're rational, but we're actually quite emotional beings. And what's really critical is that we build trust with our customers. But to build trust, we have to keep the promises we're making. If we're making promises and we're keeping those promises, trust is built with our customers. And that ultimately is the bedrock of customer experience. Now, life was a lot easier. When I think about, my first job back in 1990, although this photo is a little bit older than that. But if I think about, business, it was a lot easier in times past. There was a lot less channels in terms of interaction points for consumers and how they interacted with brands. The relationships were a lot more personal, a lot more simpler. We knew the people were buying from. We also had a very tangible experience. We could go into the stores and smell the smells of the freshly baked bread. We could interact with the stores. But technology's really changed everything if we think about it, and more so in the recent months and quarters. If we think about this year in itself, we've seen a lot of change. If I think back to what my desktop used to look like and what it looks like now, it's a lot simpler. I have 2 devices that that I travel with that enable me to pretty much connect to anytime, anywhere. So technology itself is changing and evolving constantly. The form factor is changing, and also how we consume and serve up content is changing. Think about this video here. This video was taken back in, I think it's about 2 years ago. And what you're seeing here is a human behavioral change at scale. A lot of you might recognize this. This is, of course, Pokemon Go. When it was rolling across the globe, we saw people engaging with, technology in a new way, chasing little avatars across cities and even countries, those that were really keen. And basically what we're seeing, through technology is human behavior changing. And that's creating new possibilities, new ways for consumers to interact with one another, with brands, but also for brands and how they can interact and influence consumers. And I like this idea of digital Darwinism that I came across. It talks about, how technology and society are evolving faster than businesses can naturally keep up or adapt. The reality is we as consumers, are actually putting a lot of demands on brands. We're expecting them to do, to evolve around our needs. We don't really care how hard it is for that company to integrate its physical and digital interaction points. We expect them to move at the speed we're moving at. And the fact is, customer journeys used to be a lot more predictable, as I alluded to earlier. There were a lot less choices, but there are so many choices now. And the fact that our customers are being chased all over the internet by our ads. And guess what? They're getting smarter. They know how to game the system. I know if I load up my shopping cart and then abandon it, that there's a good chance in 24 hours you're going to send me a message saying I'm going to get a 10% discount. So we're becoming smarter in how we can work and engage with brands. And this is why it's becoming increasingly important for us to understand how we evolve our business. Now, we can hope and pray that all these challenges are going to go away, but that's not an option, is it? We can look at retrofitting our legacy platforms and processes and but that can ultimately create impossible complexity. These systems are often depend on personalization rules that were determined as single touch points, as standalone systems. They weren't looked at in terms of being designed to connect and create this sort of channelless experience. And ultimately, it's a very reactive approach. And the fact is, we're seeing a continued explosion of potential new customer interaction points across new channels. And this is a real challenge for all of us. We've got to constantly look at how do we adapt our business. And the research shows, and a lot of research shows that, customers have more challenges when it comes to engaging with a brand with the more channels they use. So as I engage with different channels with a brand, the experience actually deteriorates, which is really crazy when you think about it. It's a really missed opportunity. We need to think about how do we bring all these channels together? How do we architect an amazing, delightful experience? Because we don't really think in terms of channels. Really think about your own consumer experience. A channel really is just a window into your brand. It's an opportunity to see into that brand. And the real challenge that lies in front of all of us here is the challenge of silos, the siloed nature of our organizations, and the cultures and behaviors and the processes that flourish inside these functional operational silos. These functional silos also have people that are guardians of the information. Often we'll find departments putting their arms around data, not sharing the data, not really looking at how they can work together. We need to really remove this problem. We need to, help our colleagues, our other parts of the business understand the importance of bringing the business together around how we can optimize our experiences. Because if we don't do that, it's going to inhibit our ability to move forward. And the problem really does exist. I mean, the fact is most companies are wired for transactions and not journeys. They're also wired to maximize productivity and scale and economies through functional units, driving, increased efficiency, which is, again, obviously important, but often we lose sight of the customer in that. Journeys are much more predictive of desired outcomes. Customers are more likely to recommend a brand to their friends where there's a connected journey, where the customer is really experiencing, a sense of engagement from a brand that is really, centered around their needs. Ultimately, think of touch points as being really transient and occur within channels. Journeys are much more holistic and ultimately independent of channels. They're channelless. So this idea of channelless is an exciting new opportunity. We need to think about our customers and also, we got to see this as being a real opportunity for us. It could be really scary. We look at how much change there is, but I see change as an opportunity to grow. Both grow it at a business level, business unit level, or at a professional level. See this as an exciting opportunity for you as a professional. E-commerce is really continuing to grow globally. We're seeing trends like this across the globe. We're seeing right across Asia, whether it's from Australia in terms of the results that we're seeing here, 84% of Australians searched online for products or services. I've just realized, sorry, my Asian data didn't translate over into this slide. So my apologies on that. I'll make sure I update that so you get the latest in that respect. But, follow me here. 76% of Australians visited online retail stores and ultimately made purchases online in the last month. And we're seeing this right across the Asian markets as well. Huge growth, year-on-year growth in terms of e-commerce. And really, this region is leading the way when it comes to e-commerce, growth rates. We're seeing it, from Indonesia to Singapore to Japan to China to India and down to Australia, right across the region. So if you're growing a business and you're expanding your business, across your home market, but also into other regions within Asia, there is a great opportunity to really leverage the power of e-commerce and commerce capabilities. And it really is an exciting time that lies ahead of us, because those of us see that opportunity can actually get a real leap ahead of our competitors. And ultimately great brands are seeing this. They are evolving their businesses. They are looking at how they can streamline their people, their processes and technologies to ultimately enable them to deliver a connected and contextual customer experience. This is really where we're moving towards now. And context is really important. Understanding where a customer is on her journey. Why is she buying from you? Why is she searching for a product? Understanding that context is going to be super important for you. And the next phase will also be about, how do we integrate our back and front offices together? How do we do this in a way that channels become invisible? The key word for the next evolution to channelless will be convergence. How do we converge our businesses and our operations, our people and processes and technologies in a way that ultimately enable us to offer one single beautiful holistic customer experience across the business? The end goal for digital transformation for me is really to go through an endless mesh of options, so seamless it becomes channelless, to create that journey that is ultimately channelless. Jack Ma, someone who we're all familiar with, a very smart chap, he says it here: pure e-commerce will be reduced to transactional business and replaced by the concept of new retail, the integration of online, offline logistics data across a single value chain. So he calls it new retail. He's a billionaire. He gets to call it what he likes, but I call it channelless customer experience. That's where I think we're heading. And it really does start with our customers, but also our employees. And it starts with thinking as people and not thinking of channels. So really focus your efforts on looking at how you can build a data cloud around your customers, really building up an understanding of who she is, what drives her, what makes her want to, consider making a purchase. How does she go from awareness to discovery to actually making a purchase, and using and collecting data around her and using that to inform your decisions. Look at how you close the loop between offline and online. This is another area that you need to really invest in. Really looking at how you can do that, bringing the physical and digital worlds together. How do you transform the organizational operating model is also really critical. Breaking down those silos that I talked about earlier to enable cross-functional interconnection, really enabling and harnessing the broader ecosystem. Think also not just in terms of your own organization, also think of the broader ecosystem, your logistics suppliers, all of the different people involved in ultimately helping you get a product into the hands of a customer. They all play a role in your experience. A good example is if someone comes online and buys from you and you ship a goods to them, they don't remember the logistics supplier that delivered the goods late or in damaged state. They remember your brand. So that's why thinking about the broader ecosystem is really important. And listen, I know this sounds really obvious, but actually talking to your customers, having them help co-innovate, co-create with you in helping you reimagine the way you engage your customers is also a really, simple and cost-effective way of really understanding what your go-to-market model needs to look like. Have them involved in that process. I got a case study here that I brought over from Australia. Ascend Group is really doing some amazing stuff down in Australia, and in particular in the COVID-19 situation. They've seen some really amazing results. So I thought I'd introduce you to them. They're a brand that owns a number of retail brands across Australia. Brands like Platypus, Vans, and Athlete's Foot. So they own a lot of retailers that sell shoes, basically. And they sell, to a broad range of different segments in that. And they embarked a number of years ago on a transformation. They've been on a long journey. A journey of transformation takes time, but they've been investing in driving that transformation. And this data here is actually from previous years, not this year. But what they had seen is 10x sales growth in 10 months when they launched their transformation and how they were going to drive digital experiences and physical experiences. And they saw some amazing results. In actual fact, Mark Tepperson, who was formerly the CDO, he just recently left in the last few weeks to join another technology company. You know, he's been driving an amazing experience and was named in the top 50 people in e-commerce. And you know, he says it really well here. The challenge was how to take this physical in-store customer experience of matching the right shoe to the right customer's foot into an online environment. And guess what? They did that even when the world has been really struggling with COVID-19. And obviously a lot of retailers out there have been hurting. What we've seen here is some amazing results. This was just taken a few months, I think about 2 months ago, this from LinkedIn, where Mark shared that, you know, he was really proud of the results that they were seeing in May. And as you see here, they've driven some amazing results, you know, right when everyone was struggling, a lot of businesses struggling in COVID, they managed to do this. And how did they do that? They built an integrated physical and digital go-to-market experience, a channelless experience, a really amazing success story. You know, and I think Shep Hyken here, someone I know, a really great thinker in the CX space, says it beautifully. People think customer loyalty is about a lifetime. It isn't really. Customer loyalty is about next time and every time. So this is something I also want you to think about when you embark on your journey. You know, again, customer loyalty is hard to earn nowadays. There's a lot of choices, a lot of options out there for us. So we need to be mindful of that. We need to really look at what do we know about a customer, and then look at their behavior within our ecosystem. We get that data, we collect those insights, and we start then anticipating what is the next best action. And this is again where Adobe, through the acquisition of Magento, is really investing in taking the Magento product to the next level. We're looking at how we can bring now, and our current releases that are coming out, you know, we're bringing Sensei, Adobe's AI tech capabilities, to integrating it into our core product. And that's now going to enable us to deliver some really amazing capabilities to you and your businesses. You know, again, Adobe brings a broader ecosystem of great technologies, and ultimately, you know, Magento Commerce is a key component of its overall DX strategy, a digital experience strategy. And we can now look at how can we help you on your journey from awareness, discovery, shop, purchase, post-purchase, and right through to advocacy and everything in between. It's a really exciting time for us in terms of being part of this amazing company. And Magento has such a broad and beautiful ecosystem of systems integrators, developers, and technology partners, many of which you would have heard from today. So it's an exciting time. I really am a big fan of the work of Peter Drucker over the years. He's really influenced me. And I think he says it beautifully here. You know, he talks about, you know, because the purpose of business is to create a customer. The business enterprise has two and only two basic functions: marketing and innovation. Marketing innovation produce results. All the rest are costs. Now, as a marketer, I love that quote. I think that's an amazing quote. It makes me feel very special. But the reality is, if we're really honest, I think if Peter was alive today, he would update this and he would say customer experience and innovation are the two most important things. And guess what? Customer experience isn't one department. It's the entire organization. Think of it in the context of one customer, one experience, one enterprise, everyone coming together to deliver an amazing experience. So our goal as we leave today, after all of this great, amazing content you've consumed, you know, what we need to do is go back into our businesses and look at how do we take the fear away from, you know, from customers wanting to engage with us. How do we engage on their terms through the different channels they want to engage with us? How do we create this channelless experience? How do we really individualize that experience? How do we move from personalization to individualization, you know, by using the data we're collecting from our customers in a really smart way? You know, the reality is a lot of what I've spoken to is actually taking place today. There are brands that are really doing really well. Ascent Group was one, just to name a few. Quartz Group here in Singapore, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is another great brand that's really understood this. Many, many brands that are doing amazing and extraordinary work in driving change. And the great news is you can actually not just deliver great customer experiences that, you know, make them feel great, but also you can deliver great employee experiences by giving them the tools and capabilities they need. But also you can do this in a profitable way. This is what we're seeing. A lot of brands that actually leading the way in their industries are making really great returns off these investments. But I want to challenge you to think about this as a journey. It's not a destination. You'll constantly have to evolve. Think back to my example of the Pokemon Go and now TikTok, is the greatest, now the latest sort of app that's really driving a behavioral change. We've constantly got to keep our finger on the pulse and understand that our customers are going to constantly evolve. And it really starts with understanding our customers and our employees, servicing them, and really understanding the journeys that take place and seeing them as channelless experiences. Yeah. And really, ultimately, if we get this right, if we do this right, if we do understand and the importance of this and invest in this, what we will ultimately see is our customers coming back to us, wanting to do more business with us, wanting to share their wonderful experiences with their friends, with their family, with their loved ones. So I want to challenge you. Don't wait for your bosses to figure this out. Often we want to wait for the CEO or the CMO to think about, or figure this out. What we need to do is go in and drive that change in our organization. I've done this at a number of organizations. I didn't wait for my CEOs to figure it out. I've driven that change. You do it by finding people in the business that share a similar passion in other departments. They don't always have to be in your business unit. Build a movement in your organization. We've got some really great content that can help you with this on that journey. Then we've got the Magento Accelerator webinar series. So if you Google that, you'll find a whole series of content there. We've got a new series coming out shortly. So this is series 1. There was about 8 or 9 webinars that will take you through a lot of what I've spoken about today. So feel free to access that content. My name is Nicholas Kontopoulos. I'm on LinkedIn. So not many Kontopouloses there. If you type that in, you'll be able to find me. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm also on, you can connect with me on Twitter. With that, I want to thank you for dialing in and listening to us today. And I look forward to hopefully being able to connect next time with those of you that are in Indonesia in person, hopefully in Jakarta this time next year. So with that, I'll hand back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. Such a great session again. Thanks for spending time with us. It's already close to 6 o'clock there in Singapore.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. I think with this, we conclude the series of the Meet Magento, but we're going to wait for the rest of the audience to come in for the closing session. But I'll let you go, Nicholas. I know.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.